Hey everybody, Marston here, back again with another video. So this is a story of when I got an in-school suspension. And this story takes place my senior year, so 2017, 2018. I think it was towards like the mid of the year kinda, so I'm gonna just guess January 2018. Fuck it, we'll just say that. So, in this story, like I just said, I got an in-school suspension, and how I managed to do this, looking back, it was a very stupid idea. I'm gonna just say right now, don't do what I did, because it's very, very stupid and very immature. I didn't know what I was thinking, or I should say, we didn't know what we was thinking, since I wasn't the only one. It was me and a bunch of my homies. So, how did I get here, you might ask? Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. So, like every other story, normal morning, I took the van to school, got dropped off, no big deal. But I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos, maybe. If not, I'll just say it. At the beginning of like the school day, school wouldn't technically start till 7:55, but at 7:40 you'd go to your class. So technically you had to be in class by 7:40, but they would give you like that 7:55 grace period, if that makes sense. But before class, or before any of us went to that class, me, Chet, a bunch of our homies decided to all meet up in the bathroom. And there was this kid that we really didn't like. He didn't have the best hygiene, and I feel bad for doing this, like I said, but I'm just gonna call this kid Jordan. So, like I just said, Jordan didn't have the best hygiene. He smelled really bad, to be honest. What he would do every morning, though, Jordan would go into like the bathroom stall, like the toilet stall, and he would just sit there until class started. And because he smelled so bad, some of the guys, and I'm guilty of it too, we would call him McDonald's because he was also a little fat too. And like I said, looking back, I was a real asshole for doing this. But at the time, I thought I was cool. My ego was just so out of whack. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let my ego rise. I thought I was so cool and popular, but really nobody gives a shit about me from that school now that we're all graduated, all moved on. But anyway. Jordan goes into the toilet stall, and there's a bunch of paper towels on the floor already from like the paper towel dispenser thing. And we decide to take a bunch of paper towels, wet them with soap, and we throw them into the toilet stall where Jordan was in. Like, we fucking toss that shit. And we're yelling like, take a shower, Stinky. You smell bad. Here, we'll give you a head start. Like, we're tossing that shit, bro. Like, it was insane. I remember I was having the time of my life at that very moment. I was like, yeah, dude, this is cool. This is awesome. It's so funny, all that. Then we go to class like normal. But fast forward to third period, since between first, second period you go to class, then you go on like a 10-minute break in your homeroom, and then you go to your third period class. But I remember during break, the 10-minute break, Chet was in my homeroom, and so were a couple of my other homies, and we were like, I'm surprised Jordan has it told. And then my buddy was like, don't jinx it. And sure enough, we did. Because about 15 minutes into third period, ironically, I had a substitute this day. It was my history class. Like, the little phone rings on the teacher's desk, and the substitute's like, Marston, the principal wants to see you in, like, the big conference room. Like, the big conference room? I thought, like, something, like, bad had happened with, like, my family or something. I thought, like, my parents are waiting for me, and I'm just like, oh, no. Like, I thought something really bad happened with, like, one of my family members. But, lo and behold, my parents are indeed not in there. It's Chet and a bunch of my other homies. They're all just sitting. And once I'm sat down, the dean's there too. And the principal says, so, do you guys know why you're in here? And we're all acting dumb. We're like, I don't know. But then Chet, I think Chet was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna just say it. Chet was like, oh, because we threw shit around in the bathroom. And the principal's like, yeah, exactly right. And we're all like, oh no, like, we're cooked. We're fucked. And the principal was like, so, do you guys have anything to say for yourselves? And we're all just, giving, fake ass apologies and shit, going like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Wasn't right of me to do that, blah, blah, blah. But then the principal's like, so, what do you think should happen to you guys? And we were like, I don't know, like, just playing dumb. And the principal was like, alright, you guys want to play like this? Well, she didn't say that exactly, but basically along the lines of that. She was like, so, you guys have all earned yourselves an in-school suspension for 1 day. So it wasn't like a cool suspension where I could just stay home the next day and just sleep. Yeah, I'd be grounded, I'd be in trouble, but at least I'd be home, wouldn't have to wake up early. When my parents go to work, I could grab my Xbox. Since I knew where they hid it, they would always hide it in my dad's closet. And I've been caught grabbing it back before while grounded, and they pretty much gave up at this point anyway, since I was a senior. But no, I had to go into school normal time, and what the punishment was, because there were so many of us, they had us in like separate rooms in separate buildings. I mentioned this in a couple of my videos. At my school, there was an elementary middle building and a high school building at the same campus. So some of us are put into a room a room in the high school building. There we go. And a room in the elementary building. So me specifically, I was put in like this office room, like one of like the offices in the high school. And I had to just sit there all day. I couldn't use my phone. I couldn't listen to music. None of that. I just had to sit there and be quiet, like, the entire day. I'd do worksheets, and that was it. Obviously, I had the right to go to the bathroom and all that stuff. But at lunchtime, though, we couldn't eat lunch with any of the other kids, like me, Chet, and everybody else. Yeah, we got to see each other at lunchtime, but not to eat. Instead of giving us lunch, we had to wait till the next period for lunch. We ended up having to clean the tables, help out food service, all that, and we couldn't say a word to each other either. Only people we were allowed to talk to was the teachers. As that lunch period ended, we had to clean the tables, and they had us like mop the floors and sweep the floors so the custodian wouldn't have to late at night. The custodian even came up to us, and as a troll, he was like, thanks, I don't have to do my late night shift. And I know I just said late night shift, but that's definitely bullshit, because I seen him cleaning the cafeteria and shit when I would do after school programs at like 4 o'clock. So don't give me that late night bullshit. But yeah, we ended up doing all that. But then, like I just said a few minutes ago, the next period we were able to have our lunch. But obviously it was separate. The food was super cold. It was leftovers from the lunch period that all the high schoolers would eat at. Since I think I mentioned this in 12th grade, all the grades would sit together. And that meant a lot of students at once. And since it was a small school, there were about maybe, I want to say 150, maybe 160 kids in the cafeteria for lunch in the high school. So there was limited resources. Luckily, there was enough food left over. But of course, it was pizza day, and I had some cold-ass pizza. It was not fun, to say the least. But at the end of the day, my van picked me up, I went home, all that. And you're probably wondering, oh, so what ended up happening with your friends, all that? Did you get in trouble at home? And yeah, I did. Like I said, I'm almost 18 at this point. But I got like everything taken away from me, except for my phone, since I went to a private school, which I have said it multiple times, but if you guys haven't seen it, I went to a private school that was far. So I was able to keep my phone because I lived far from the school. And just because my parents were kind of like, you know what, like, just keep your phone. What's the point? You're going to take it back anyway. But I couldn't have my Xbox. I couldn't have my TV, since they took the TV out of my room too, for like a whole week. But as the week went on, I remember like they ended up just putting it back in after like 3 days. Like, yeah, you learned your lesson, right? I'm like, yeah, I did. So it ended up being okay. And as for my friends, they got grounded too, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna just say this. The lesson I learned in this was, yeah, don't do that. Don't pick on kids that are lower functioning than you or less capable than you, whatever you want to call it. Because trust me, you'll get in trouble. And I know popularity is important, but trust me, at the end of the day, after high school, I'm not saying everybody, but most of your friends are just going to forget you anyway. That's just how it is. Alright, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and like. I know I fucked up a few times, but hey, I'm still learning, bro. Just trying my best out here. Alright, peace, y'all.